This is a reading update of some of the books I read over the last couple of weeks. I read The Forest Grimm by Catherine Purdy, and this is a young adult fantasy about a cursed forest and a girl who has to enter it to find her missing mother and hopefully stop this curse from affecting their village. How do I describe this book? It's basically a mishmash of different fairy tales that don't know what they want to be. It would make more sense if the author picked one to base this book on, but unfortunately, because she just tried to incorporate so many different things, it was just very confusing and didn't make any sense. I gave this book 2 stars. I read Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I really enjoyed this book. It is crazy to think that so many years after it was first published, it is still interesting and still enjoyable and relevant. I love the sisterly bonds in this book. It had a lot of surprisingly funny moments, and it's just so interesting to read about the Regency era by somebody who was actually there and lived it rather than like a historian trying to write about the past. A lot of the scenarios and a lot of the nuances just felt more real this way, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. I read The Dragon Reborn, which is the third book in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. While I did like that this book was written from the perspective of a lot of different characters who are not Rand, and I especially enjoyed the point of view from Perrin and from Mat, I still wish we got more time with Rand and what was going on in his head throughout the events of the series, but I still thought this book was pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. And finally, I read Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiffwater, which is the first book in her Dreamers trilogy, and this is a spin-off series from her Raven Boys Quartet, which is a series that I really enjoyed. And I was especially excited to pick up this book because most of it was written from the perspective of Ronan, which is a character in the original series that I wish we had more time with. However, the thing I really struggled with is that I kept wanting to read from Ronan's point of view, but every chapter kept switching out between point of views of other characters that I didn't really care about, and I just wanted to continue with his story. And by the time I started caring about those characters, I was like 60% into the book, after which I felt like the plot picked up and I was able to breeze through to the end of the book. However, I still enjoyed it despite the fact that when I picked it up, I was looking to read more of like an atmospheric book like her initial Raven Boys Quartet was, and this book definitely read a lot more thrillery than that. Because of that, this book was very fast paced. I'm very invested in the story, and I feel like Maggie just does such a good job with writing character driven books. I gave it 4 stars.